Well, it looks like Systemera came out with a little bit more information on custom configurations. And boy, does it look awesome. This is OneLastMidnight. And today we're going to take a look at the video that came out on Twitch on Friday with Joe talking about custom configurations and what they do. Now, we covered this topic before when it was first released, and the screenshots are pretty much the same. There are some additions to the screenshots that have been added, but let's go ahead and cover it all over again. Custom configuration is the ability to be able to change the Astroneer game from the ground up, to be able to make major modifications to the game that allow for a complete change of gameplay. So, less power, more of a specific biome, less of a specific biome, to add planets, to remove planets. Ability to have permadeath, all different kinds of options and configurations that you could set up for your gameplay, which leads to just an absolute infinite number of combinations for you to play Astroneer with, which provides for some awesome challenges or some significantly difficult problems to solve depending on how the configuration is set up. Now, SES on the top, if you look at the screenshot, you could see that they're going to provide some of their own custom configurations, what they feel are kind of like the premier customizations or the default customizations that they have for a specific level, like a hardcore level. All customizations are going to be cross-platform, so you're going to be able to save your customization. You're going to be able to load it up into the cloud, and then people are going to, if you give them a code, people are going to be able to download it. Of course, you could keep these private, you could keep them local, but if you want to share them with everybody, that's awesome. There's also an area for them to be able to highlight somebody who has done a really cool customization and give them props and a shout out on the top as part of the SES configuration section. For those of you guys that are ultra cringing at the UI, Joe said many times during the stream that the UI is going to change. This whole vertical thing is going to go away, and it's going to go to tabs. I don't really know how effective the tab situation is going to be, and I don't really understand why that you just can't use the whole damn screen, or at least 80%, 90% of the screen to be able to display all these configuration stuffs on one screen. But okay, whatever. One of the major changes that they are introducing is the ability to be able to get achievements and rewards in custom games. Now, this is kind of cheesy for all of us that worked really hard to get the achievements, but, you know, whatever. If you want to cheeseball the game, you could cheeseball the game. That's okay. There was something else that he had said about being able to beat the game in some of their custom configuration settings, the ones that SES provides, will unlock different palettes or a different suit or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said. It'd be really cool if they added a bunch of achievements around custom games. So being able to beat a specific configuration, or being able to, you know, I don't know, play a game with no power or something, very low power, or something along those lines. I do like this idea of permadeath, and also this concept of spawn tokens, where you can set yourself a number of times that you can respawn, and then once you meet that max, that's it, your character is dead. And they said that this works on dedicated servers. So somebody goes into your dedicated server and everybody's given an allotment of, let's say, 2 lives. As soon as your 2 lives are over, that's it, you can't get back on the server again, which leads for some very interesting gameplay. They are thinking about a random configuration button on the bottom so that you can just, you know, configure whatever it is that you want. Just hit a random thing and that's what you get. You know, in this configuration, there's the ability to turn off items in the research catalog. There's the ability to be able to preload up items that you start off with on your backpack. There's all kinds of different configuration settings that you could set for the game to make it harder or easier for yourself. And I can completely understand why they'd want to do an easier round. So if you think of like little kids that are maybe like having a hard time playing the normal level game, you can make it a lot easier for them and much more enjoyable for them. So there's a use case on both sides of the spectrum for all of these configuration changes that will happen in the next update. Currently, right now, there's no timeline for the update, so have no idea when this is coming out, but typically they release something in the summertime. If not, they definitely release something in the fall or winter time. So I would think, definitely this year and hopefully very, very soon, like within the next couple months. He said they're still wrapping up, they're still testing, they're still doing that type of stuff. So I'm thinking a couple months out at the very least. There was something very interesting said at the end of the stream. Joe talked about mods, and they're going to go back and they're going to revisit mods. So we might be getting mod support sometime in the future. It's nice that they're going back and with stuff that they've given us hard nose on, they're going back and relooking at those type of items and seeing if they can get them into the game. Really excited about the future work for System Era and Astroneer, and I'm glad Joe is leading up the team for the changes for Astroneer. There are some things that I would like that they did not talk about. So, Joe, if you're watching this, look, would really like the opportunity to turn off research sample items. No research sample items should be found or could be found at all, which forces the player to research resources, right? So that's another possible gameplay idea. The ability to be able to shut off bytes in a mission. So if you wanted to play the missions, but you didn't want to get the benefits of bytes, this kind of piggybacks on the no research samples idea, then you could go ahead and do that. Would like to see a max number of players in a dedicated server. So if you don't want to have that max of 8, you want to have the max of 7 or 6 or 5 or whatever the case might be, would like to be able to see that change to a configuration as well. I guess you could use the whitelist for this feature, but the whitelist is saying these specific people can enter, where I would just like to say, hey, look, only 7 people can enter or 5 people can enter. Let's talk about the starting item. So you give the ability to give starting items on the backpack, but you're not giving the ability to give starting items just in general. So think of the scenario of, I have selected no shelter, but yet I want to start with a shelter. I want to be able to have a landing pad at start. So I would like to pre-order those items and have them packaged up, ready for me to use, and not get like the default shelter or the default landing pad area for me. So this case would be, great, you put me on a planet, but I don't like where you drop me. I want to go start my landing area in a completely different location, in the mountains, in the forest, in a crevasse somewhere. I want to be able to have that ability at least to start with that landing pad or that shelter or any other item that I want to start with. Maybe I want to start off with a shuttle. I don't know, but think about or possibly giving us the ability to give us a handful of items that we can pick to start our missions off with. I would like the ability to have some sort of slider for how dangerous the plants are. So let's take either the cataplant or the shooty plant, whatever the shooty plant is. Maybe that slider is making the ability for it to shoot faster, or having the explosions be greater. It's a 1-shot instead of like a 2-shot to kill you off. Something to have the current fauna be more dangerous or less dangerous. I would also like the ability to be able to set starting locations. Now, I don't know how you would do this, but think of like a capture the flag scenario. I've got one planet, Silva. I'm allowing 4 players to play, and I want each one of us to start at a different location. So whenever you log in, that person gets assigned that landing location. That is their spawn point, and that's where they always start. I think that would be a really interesting scenario where you set up a configuration and you've turned it into some sort of game where you've got players on a board starting in different locations, and now you're battling or you're somehow competing against each other for resources or whatever the case might be. And finally, to piggyback on that idea, I would like a staging system. So yes, there are creative mode games where I can spin up anything, build up anything, get it all set up. But the problem is once you go into creative mode, you can't go back into adventure mode. So give us the ability to be able to stage a save. I want to be able to configure, like let's say, go back to the game scenario. I want to be able to configure everybody's landing area or certain planets in a particular way, and then be able to convert it back over to an adventure game. And maybe there's a flag or something that says, look, you can never convert back over to creative. This will be an adventure save from here on out. But that initial configuration, that initial setup should allow me to be able to set up a save file and then be able to distribute that out as some sort of fun event or some sort of save configuration. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but I'd love to have that. Well, really excited about these changes. Can't wait for this stuff to come out. This is really thrilling to see Astroneer and Systemair going in this direction. And again, there's no timeline to this. Don't know when it's going to come out. It's probably going to happen this year, though. At least the way in which Joe is talking about it, it sounds like it's coming out this year for sure. And man, I really want it today. At any rate, if you haven't already, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Would love to have you in the community. If you want to follow me on any of my social media, you can find the links in the description below. And make sure to hit that notification bell. That way you know when I go live and when I post new videos. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.